And how dare you, James Gunn? How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very, very first edition of Pop Culture Download. And what better way to start than with my review of James Gunn's Superman? Let's go.
I don't want to be copyright struck, so I'm going to sing over it.
So firstly, apologise for that racket. It's the only way I could get through without getting copyright struck. So, voice of an angel, I know. Right, anyway, on to the review. So, I'm going to be doing a lot of reviews in future, so let's firstly explain how this is going to work. The first thing I'm going to do when I review anything is I'm going to give you some context. The reason for that is we all approach things from our own experiences, right? Anyone that says they've got no element of bias or anything like that, they're lying, okay? We bring our own life experiences and what we like when we were younger and as kids and all that stuff when we watch a movie. And definitely when it comes to something like Superman, there is a lot of context. So I am, first of all, going to provide you with a little bit of context about my relationship with Superman. That sounds quite weird, but you know what I mean. Then we're going to go, it's going to be hopefully a format that we'll continue to do. I'm going to go through the great, the sedate, and the hate. So the great, what's the things that I liked about the movie? Really, really liked about the movie. The sedate, the stuff that I was kind of, yeah, it's okay. I can live with it. And the hate. The, oh my God, I absolutely couldn't stand this. And full disclosure, that's probably going to be the longest bit in this. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, context. As a kid, massive Superman fan. I grew up in the era of Christopher Reeve. No one is ever going to be Superman other than Christopher Reeve to me. Superman 2, I know a lot of people say Superman's the best movie. Superman 2 is in my top 5 movies of all time, along with the likes of Back to the Future, Rocky, those kind of films. So I love Superman 2 and I love Christopher Reeve. Now, in terms of what's come since then, obviously 1 and 2 loved. 3, it was dodgy, let's be honest. It was more of a Richard Pryor film than it was a Superman film. However, it is iconic, if nothing else, than for the fight between Clark Kent and bad Superman in the junkyard, which for me is just iconic. Love it. And then came Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, which I think we all know was an absolute piece of crap. They clearly didn't have the budget to make it. And it's just awful. I still have nightmares about Nuclear Man. It just, oh my God, that film is absolutely dire. There is a whole scene in it where Superman puts the Great Wall of China back together just by looking at it. It's horrendous movie. Obviously, then there was no movies for a long, long, long time. And full disclosure, I'm not a comic geek, so if I'm wrong about certain things that should have been in the comic, I don't care. I'm not into comics. Next one to come was the Bryan Singer Superman, which for me did a few things right, i.e. John Williams' score. The opening was very kind of in keeping with the original movies, and I like that. But as a film, I actually thought Brandon Routh was actually a fairly good Superman as well. But as a film, it wasn't great, was it? There were some pretty bad miscastings in there. I didn't think Kevin Spacey was a particularly good Lex Luthor. Some of the action was a bit dodgy. The whole idea of Superman having a kid and that just it just didn't work. It was a it was a 4 or 5 out of 10 movie for me. And then came Zack Snyder. Oh dear, Zack Snyder. Man of Steel. First of all, Henry Cavill, I liked him as Superman. No Christopher Reeve, but I liked him as Superman. The problem I had with the Zack Snyder films were Superman should be light. That doesn't mean that there isn't an element of drama and there isn't some seriousness in it, but it should be light, it should be colourful, it should have hope. And for me, those movies just didn't do that, unfortunately. I think in terms of Man of Steel, I really enjoyed the opening 15, 20 minutes on Krypton with Russell Crowe. I thought that was really good. But then once it kind of got down to earth, it just, for me, it was just a film that took itself far too seriously. I'm not a big Zack Snyder fan. In fact, I can't stand him. I think he's an absolute hack. But yeah, I didn't really enjoy Man of Steel, if I'm honest. Really didn't think it was great. Also, General Zod, who for me, played by Terence Stamp back in the original, was brilliant. Did not like this new version. I think it was Michael Shannon. I think it was. Just didn't work for me. The whole film again was probably a 4 out of 10 for me. Didn't enjoy it. And then came Batman versus Superman. That was even worse. That was Zack Snyder at his most self-indulgent and terrible. That movie was like a 3 out of 10 at best for me. It was overlong. It was ridiculously serious, although there's some of it was very laughable unintentionally. And it was just a terrible film for me. I don't particularly like Ben Affleck as Batman. Oh, I have to say I haven't mentioned as well Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, the worst casting of all time. The only thing I've liked Jesse Eisenberg in is Zombieland and The Social Network. I don't know if anyone's seen him being interviewed. He's actually a bit of a dick, to be honest. And I just didn't like him as Lex Luthor. It didn't work for me. So that kind of takes us up to now. So, yeah, since the Christopher Reeve Supermans, I've not really enjoyed any of them. Now, what is James Gunn Superman like? Well, obviously James Gunn is the guy that's going to apparently reboot the DC universe, or at least he thinks. Um, and track record, obviously, he did Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think most of us really enjoyed. We like the light tone, so you would think that maybe he might be the ideal person to do Superman. I didn't think he was because I think the problem is he's too over the top humor. Whereas for me, the right tone with Superman is definitely to have that light humor and that hope, but also the moments of kind of gravity and seriousness that I think you need in a Superman movie. So I was worried about, and also James Gunn is quite a self-indulgent director. I was worried about this movie. So, what's the good in this movie? This probably won't be a very long section because for me, if ever there was a film that defined the word mid, that is ultimately what this Superman is for me. So, what did I actually like about it? Okay, so what I did like about it, let's start with the really obvious one, Mr. Terrific. Absolutely stole the movie. For me, actually more heroic than Superman. Had all the best lines. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Easily the best thing in the movie. So I really, really like that. What else did I really, really think was great? I'm struggling a little bit now, I think, to be honest. I think it was nice to hear the original John Williams score, although I'm going to caveat that in the hate bit in a minute. So at least they did use an element of the score, which obviously they didn't on Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman, but that's gonna be I like that. but there's also going to be a caveat to that a little bit later on. I thought Lois Lane, I thought the actress that played Lois Lane was great. Um, Very easy on the eye, I'm not going to lie. But also, I thought she was a really, really good Lois Lane. I think whenever you're trying to compare yourself to Margot Kidder, it's always going to be difficult because she was tremendous as Lois Lane. But I thought she was great. I really, really liked her in the movie. Um, that's kind of it for the really great stuff. I think I would say, you know, it is colourful, it is hopeful, and it is great to see. But again, I'm going to caveat that a little bit more as we go through. So that is the great, not a long list. So let's get on to the sedate. So the sedate, this is the stuff that I thought was kind of okay, right? And there's probably quite a lot. I said the film was mid, so there's a lot of okay stuff in this. At the very beginning, probably for about the first hour or so, I would have put Crypto, the dog, in great. I was really enjoying Crypto for the first hour. And then he actually started to annoy me a little bit, if I'm quite honest with you. So he ends up kind of in the sedate. That's kind of mid, right? There was one particular scene which really annoyed me. I said about how Superman should be light, but there should be moments of like gravitas and drama. And there was a really great speech that Superman gave to Lex Luthor just towards the end of the movie. And just as Lex Luthor responds, or is about to respond, the dog comes flying in and knocks him over. And that actually annoyed me because I wanted to hear what Lex was going to respond with. And for me, I just feel like clearly the dog is a marketing opportunity. I'm sure they want to sell plush toys and God knows what. But for me, I think the dog became a little bit too much for me. Um, yeah, that it was just okay. You know, the dog, I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. Um, it was just okay. And anyway, golden retrievers are the best. So if it had been a golden retriever, it would be even better. Um, so that was kind of mid. What else was mid? Um, Probably go back to probably the music. It was nice to hear the John Williams score, but they kind of did it with this guitar. You probably heard it in the trailer, guitar kind of metal version, and it just didn't work for me at all. Don't get me wrong, it was nice to hear it, but it wasn't like for me. It didn't bring the nostalgia that I was hoping it would. I think if they'd have used the original score, let's be honest, the John Williams original Superman score is one of the greatest movie scores of all time. John Williams has a lot of those, in all honesty. But for me, I just didn't like what they did with it, so it kind of ends up in the sedate. The titles at the beginning, I'd probably say the same. They were kind of reminiscent of the originals, but then they didn't kind of follow through with it. And for me, yeah, that was kind of a little bit kind of it was okay. I didn't particularly like it. Um, what else was mid? I can't remember what they're called, the Justice Squad or whatever they were. I can't remember the sidekicks that he had with him. Like I said, I loved Mister Terrific. I thought he was great. I thought the rest of them not great, to be honest. Just a bit mid. Um, Also, there was kind of a scene where talk about that hope thing where there's a kid trying to put up a flag of Superman to come and rescue them. And you are sitting there wondering because Superman's, I think, fighting with a clone of himself at the time. And did I tell you there'd be spoilers? They're spoilers. Sorry, I'm doing it now. So you're thinking, how's Superman going to get there? And of course, he doesn't. He sends his friends to come and rescue them. And for me, that felt a bit like a cop out. If he's going to put the flag up of Superman, you want Superman to come in there and rescue them. And for me, that was one of the fundamental faults of the movie is that Superman isn't that heroic. He kind of gets beaten up quite a lot. And that's really disappointing for me. I want Superman to be the hero in his own movie. That's how it is, right? I thought that Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor was okay. I don't think he was helped by the script and certain decisions they made, the fight sequences where he's calling out letters and numbers to get someone to fight Superman. I didn't like that at all. I thought he did okay, but I don't really think he had a lot to work with, to be honest. So it was kind of meh. You're okay. You were definitely better than Jesse Eisenberg, but let's be honest, everybody's better than Jesse Eisenberg. So there you go. So that was kind of mid as well. What else was mid? I think the action was kind of mid. There was some really good action in it, and there was some quite ropey special effects in it as well. You know, it is ridiculous that. Don't get me wrong. I think when you look back at things like Superman 4, the effects in Superman 4 were terrible because they clearly ran out of money. But I actually still think a number of the effects, the practical effects in Superman 1, 2, and to a certain extent 3, still hold up today. And when I was younger, I truly believed a man could fly. And it was because they absolutely pulled it off. Now, I think in this world of CGI, it's become so inauthentic, and it just, for me, it's all about, it's got to look crazy, and it just doesn't look practical, and it's okay. I've seen a lot worse special effects, but again, it's nothing to write home about, if I'm really, really honest. So I think that's probably enough of the mid. Now let's get on to, we're going to go from the sedate right to the hate. What did I hate about this movie? I hated the way that Superman was depicted. Not in the same way as the way I hated the way Zack Snyder depicted him, but he just spends the whole film getting beaten up. I don't want to see that in Superman, right? He's just not very heroic in the movie, and for me, it's a missed opportunity. I actually thought, well, I haven't really talked about him yet, but David Corrin Sweat, or whatever his name is, I'm sorry, it's probably the wrong pronunciation. I actually quite liked him as Superman. I thought he's pretty good. Very different to Henry Cavill, but good look in terms of he looked like Superman. Didn't always act like Superman, but I can see that maybe because it's quite early on, they're going to build on his character, and I didn't mind him as Superman, so probably should have left that in the sedate section. Supergirl. Supergirl, another spoiler, has a cameo in this movie, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Now, I know a Supergirl movie does exist. I can still remember it back in the 80s with Helen Slater. It was one of those terrible movies that I actually quite liked because it was so terrible. I just, if that's the way they're going to go with the new Supergirl, where she's kind of like a party girl and it's like everything's like bitch and all that sort of stuff, I don't think I want to see that movie. And I think it's the next movie out in the DC universe. And for me, that little cameo, not interested in the Supergirl movie at all. The villains in this movie, I actually thought the threats and the villains in this movie were rubbish. I do think that's a thing that you find a lot in superhero movies now, that the villains just aren't very, very good. Shortly, I'll do a review of Fantastic Four, and that actually is different. I actually like that movie, and I think the threat and the villain in it was great. But the threat in this movie, it's not really a high stakes movie, if I'm honest. It's not like the world is under threat, and therefore you don't really care that much, if I'm quite honest with you. So I didn't like that as well. So I definitely hated that part of the movie. And I think the other thing I hated was it went too far in terms of it's so ridiculous and so out there. And I know people are going to say, well, you haven't read the comics. And no, I haven't. Okay. But nor is probably 95% of the audience. Okay. Yes, we want a Superman that's light and colourful, and you gave us that. But it was almost, there was no weight to anything. Like, there were no scenes. I still think you can have drama in that. And I think Superman, the original Superman, still had those great moments of drama. You know, in the first Superman, when Superman realizes that Lois has died, and he obviously circles around the earth and turns back time, that was genuinely dramatic. You don't have any of that in this movie. It's just I don't care. I think it's so light and breezy that you just find that you don't care about the characters and anything else. So okay, another thing that I absolutely hated about the movie, Jimmy Olsen. Nothing really against the actor so much, but there was this kind of story that's kind of it's quite important to the movie of almost like Jimmy Olsen being this sex symbol that like all the women were after, and I'm like, really? I mean, don't get me wrong, pot calling the kettle black, right? I get it, but I don't get it. He wasn't charismatic. He wasn't attractive. There was very little about him, but apparently he was driving women mad, and I just don't get that. And part of that is really really important to the plot because there's a character in it that obviously you know exposes things about Lex, which yeah. And it was all because of her relationship or her need to want to get with Jimmy Olsen, which was really, really, really strange. Um, okay, the biggest thing that I hated about this movie, and this is very, very, very spoiler, very, very spoiler. So, sorry if I'm going to give this away. There is a decision made by James Gunn in this movie that I absolutely hated, and that is around Superman's Kryptonian parents. Okay, so there is a message in the movie from his parents that he listens to, and part of the message is broken, and then Lex comes in and they're able to fix it, and the whole idea is that obviously Superman always felt that he was brought to Earth and sent to Earth to do good for humanity and be a beacon of hope and look after the people of Earth and everything else. And it turns out that the last bit of the message is actually his parents saying, well, humans are weak, so you can kind of take over and start spreading your Kryptonian seed around. And they basically make out his parents to be dicks. Now, I thought that it was going to turn out at the end that that actually was all made up by Lex Luthor, and they don't. And that is such a fundamental part of the Superman story that he's sent as as the planet's about to explode, he's sent to Earth to do great for humanity. Okay, and James Gunn decided to go, no, you were here. Basically, we're sending you to kind of take over the planet and like take over the that planet of weak humans and start planting your Kryptonian seed around in everybody, so they can kind of I don't know create maybe like a new Krypton on Earth or something. I hate that. Like, why? That's such a fundamental part of the story. Why have you done that? That really annoys me. It's probably the biggest thing about the movie that really, easily the biggest thing about the movie that absolutely, I was angry coming out of the cinema because I think Superman is such a timeless tale. It's something that so many of us grew up with, and it's such a hopeful story. And then just by making that change, you've basically made Jor-El and Superman's dad and Superman's mum to be absolute dicks. Like, what is that about? And how dare you, James Gunn? How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? Sorry, I'm having a rant now. But that was one of the things about the Superman movie that I absolutely hated. I don't know why that decision was made. And I absolutely hated it. I don't know whether they'll rectify it in later movies. I suspect not, because I think if they were going to rectify it, they'd have done it by the end of the movie. But for me, I absolutely hated that creative decision by James Gunn. And shame on you for taking a story that is so beloved to so many of us and absolutely making a mockery of two really important characters in that story. James Gunn, I do not forgive you for this. I'm going to go easy. I'm not going to give you much more on the hate. I just think, as a movie, it's a 5 out of 10 movie. It's a 2.5 stars movie. Um, it's doing okay at the box office. Obviously, I've left this review quite late, so it's been out a few weeks now. Um, it's doing okay. There's a lot of propaganda out there. There are an awful lot of shills out there who are telling people that it's made 3 times its budget and things like that, and they forget things like the marketing costs. They forget that half of that money goes to the cinemas, right? This movie needs to make about 700 million to break even. And I think it will get there. I don't think it will lose money. But when you think you've got things like the Avengers, which I think made like over 2 billion, I mean, this isn't coming close. This is taking around about the same money. Well, actually, if you compare it to Man of Steel and you think about inflation, because obviously the ticket prices were a lot lower back then, this film will not be as successful as Man of Steel. So is that a home run when you're trying to relaunch the DC universe? I don't think it is. Um, I do think there's an element of superhero fatigue, right? We've all had so many superhero movies in the last sort of 10 years or so. I think we're just fed up of it now. We want something new and original. Obviously, Marvel are putting all of their hopes into Doomsday. And God, if you see the cast on that, ridiculous amount of people in it, I don't know how they're going to make that work, and how everybody's going to get decent amount of screen time. But Marvel know that they're in trouble, right? Because the Marvel movies recently have been absolutely terrible. I'm going to do a whole video on how bad Marvel has got. Literally, the high watermark was definitely Endgame, and from then onwards, it's all been pretty shit, to be quite honest with you. Did like Fantastic Four, I might add, but it's very much a standalone film. You don't have to have watched any of the other Marvel films to appreciate it. I was genuinely surprised. I thought that was quite good. But yeah, in terms of the DC universe, it's an okay start, but I don't know. I don't think this looks good. I think if Supergirl is the next movie, is the next kind of taxi off the rank, then I'd be a little bit worried because, judging by that cameo, I think a lot of people are not going to be very interested in Supergirl. The last one obviously did horrifically many, many years ago. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this one do, you know, pretty bad business as well. So we will see. At the end of the day, hey, James Gunn may prove me wrong and he may reboot the DC universe and it may become, something that overtakes Marvel. Who knows? But right now, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. So there you go. Look, that's my review of Superman. I am going to give it 2.5 stars. Okay? That doesn't mean it's terrible. Also doesn't mean it's good. It's a very mid movie. Should you see it? Hey, if you're going to see it, go and watch it in the cinema, right? I saw it in 3D. Don't recommend that. I don't think 3D added anything to the movie, but it is one of those films that I would recommend that you see on the big screen if you get a chance. There are some really good action set pieces in it, but there are also some pretty awful parts of the movie as well. So I've probably left something out, which I'll probably have to come back and edit in. There's probably loads of stuff that I haven't talked about. But yeah, it's just okay. That's my review of the movie. It's mid. It's an absolute mid movie. I was really hopeful for this film. I mean, you're never going to get Christopher Reeve Superman, right? God rest his soul. Like, he was just the ultimate Superman, right? General, you care to step outside? What a line that is, right? Absolutely brilliant. I'm nostalgia. I can't help it. I get wrapped up in that. That was my childhood right there in that movie, and therefore I take that context into this. So that's probably one of the reasons why I really didn't like it. But the other reason I really didn't like it that much was it's not a very good movie. It's an okay movie. So I have done way too much talking. That is my review of Superman. Please, I'm sure we've all got different opinions. Judging by the internet, there are people that absolutely love this movie. there are also people who absolutely hate this movie. So it's very much a kind of marmite when it comes to movies. I'd be really interested, those of you who have seen it, what did you think? How would you rate it? Do you agree? Do you disagree with anything that I've said? I'd be really interested. Let's get that debate going in the comments. One of the things that I want to do with this channel is this is just my opinion, right? And the whole point of this is let's have some debates about it. I do plan to run some live streams and maybe get some guests on because you know what? Sometimes I'm wrong. Although basically, there's one thing I'm not wrong about. Disney are killing Star Wars. I will fight you on that one. But yeah, really, really interested in everybody's views on the movie and anything upcoming that I feature on this channel. So yeah, that is my review. Hoping to get a review of Fantastic Four out very, very soon. And I've got some live watch-alongs coming. Everybody knows that I am a Tottenham fan. And we've got some pretty good pre-season friendlies coming up. Hope to do some watch-alongs for them as well. So this might be a bit disjointed. Go easy on me. This is my first review. It'll probably be a little bit all over the place. And like I said, it's my view. It's an opinion. You can have yours, and I can have mine. So I will leave it there, everybody. And thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to hit like and smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Pop Culture Download. Until next time, everybody, keep it on the download.